Welcome to screencast number 1 for Unit 5, Lesson 2, and I'm on page 234. I'm looking at the essential question, how do the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun affect each other? Well, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the effects the Sun and the Moon have on Earth, including gravitational attraction, moon phases, and eclipses. Real quickly, if you will look at page 235. Fill in the blanks with the word or phrase you think correctly completes the following sentences. We can see the moon because it reflects the light from the sun. The moon's gravity affects the ocean tides on Earth. The impact craters on the moon were created by collisions with comets, meteorites, and asteroids. Okay. Down at the bottom, I would like you to add a few vocabulary terms. And instead of just plain old eclipse, you can scratch that one out because you're going to define both solar eclipse and lunar eclipse separately. So that means you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 vocabulary terms for this lesson. All right, let's get started. Okay, I'm on page 236 and 237 now. How are the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun related in space? Earth not only spins on its axis, that's rotation, but like the 7 other planets in our solar system, Earth also orbits the Sun. That is, the Earth revolves around the Sun. A body that orbits a larger body is called a satellite. So Earth, for instance, is a satellite of the Sun. Okay. 6 of the 8 planets in our solar system have smaller bodies that orbit around each of them, and those natural satellites are called moons. Mercury does not have any moons, Venus does not have any moons, but the rest of the planets, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, they all have moons. So the planets have their own satellites, which are the moons that are revolving around them. Okay. Our moon is Earth's natural satellite. Okay. I'm down at the red heading now. Earth and the moon orbit the sun. All bodies that have mass exert a force that pulls other objects with mass towards themselves. This force is called gravity. The mass of Earth is much larger than the mass of the moon. And then they give you, they're trying to simplify this information, but they actually state it in a way that's not true. So when we go back and do the notes, I'm going to have you scratch out this next portion of the sentence, because where it says, and therefore Earth's gravity exerts a stronger pull on the moon than the moon does on the Earth, that is not accurate, because remember you learned in Newton's third law, for every force there's an equal and opposite reaction force. Yes, the Earth's mass is larger than the moon's mass, but there is an equal amount of gravitational attraction between the two of them. And we're not going to get into the details of that. There's a lovely equation that if you're really curious, you can talk to me about. But anyway, it is the Earth's gravitational pull, the gravitational attraction between the Earth and the moon, that keep the moon in orbit around the Earth, forming the Earth-Moon system. The Earth-Moon system itself is in orbit around the sun. Even though the sun is relatively far away, the mass of the sun exerts a large gravitational pull on the Earth-Moon system. And this gravitational pull keeps the Earth-Moon system in orbit around the sun. Okay. The moon orbits the Earth. So I'm on the next red heading. The pull of Earth's gravity keeps the moon, which is Earth's natural satellite, in orbit around the Earth. Even though the moon is Earth's closest neighbor in space, it is far away compared to the sizes of the Earth and moon themselves. The distance between Earth and the moon is roughly 383,000 kilometers. Okay? It's basically about 100 times the distance between New York and Los Angeles. Okay? All right, next page. What does the moon look like from Earth? The moon is only visible sorry about that. The moon is only visible from Earth when it reflects the sunlight that reaches the moon. Although the moon is most easily seen at night, you've probably also seen it during the daytime on some days. In the daytime, the moon may only be as bright as a thin cloud and can be easily missed. On some days, you might see the moon during both the daytime and the nighttime, whereas on other days, you may not see the moon at all. Depends on what phase the moon is in. When you can look at the moon, you may notice darker and lighter areas. Perhaps you've imagined them as features of a face or some other type of pattern. People around the world have told stories about animals, people, and objects that they've imagined while looking at the light and dark areas of the moon. The dark and light spots don't change over the course of the month because only one side of the moon faces Earth, often called the near side of the moon. And this is because the moon rotates once on its axis each time it orbits the Earth. The moon takes 27.3 days, or about a month, to orbit Earth once. Now, the 27.3 days is one complete trip around, and the moon lining up, for instance, with the same background of stars. But it actually takes 29 and a half days to go from new moon to new moon, because remember that the Earth is also moving in its orbit around the sun during that time. So to go from new moon to new moon is going to take a little bit longer than 27.3 days. All right, let me show you guys what I've got for 236 and 237. All right, I've pointed out that a body that orbits another body is called a satellite. Our definition for gravity is down here. Also, remember, I asked you to cross this out because that is they're trying to oversimplify something and they wind up telling you something that's not true. So cross that out. On the next red subheading, the pull of Earth's gravity keeps the moon in orbit around the Earth. The distance between the Earth and the moon is roughly 383,000 kilometers. Next page, what does the moon look like from Earth? The moon's only visible from Earth when it reflects the sunlight that reaches the moon. In the daytime, the moon may only be as bright as a thin cloud and can be easily missed. On some days, you can see the moon during both the daytime and the night, whereas on other days, you may not see the moon at all. Down in the bottom paragraph, only one side of the moon faces Earth, often called the near side of the moon. This is because the moon rotates once on its axis each time it orbits Earth. And then if you will put this down, if Earth's progress around the sun is taken into account, the time from new moon to new moon is about 29 and a half days. Okay, it tells you that it's 27.3 days to orbit the Earth once, but remember the Earth has moved in its orbit around the sun in that time, so to start your phases over again, it takes a little bit longer. Also, I pointed out some additional items up here. Earth is one of the sun's satellites. The moon is Earth's satellite. And we actually have many artificial satellites, but only one natural satellite. The moon is our only natural satellite, but we have put other things up into space, orbiting in space, satellites that we use for technological purposes, things like that. But the only natural satellite that we have is the moon.